Hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing okay today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good to
We
see you
are.
all. Good to see you all. And we've got our special, very special guest here
Mhm.
with us. But before we do that, before we go to the conversations, before we introduce our special guest, I hope everyone's doing well this Sunday. Hope you're all, uh, um, just getting ready for this conversation. You know how much we've hyped this chat, and so yes, thank you all for joining, and do not forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe.
Mhm.
Let's do all that YouTube stuff. And yes, you're all welcome. Phil, welcome.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and Dr. Tai, you're absolutely welcome to
Cool.
this this corner of YouTube.
Awesome. Just call me Ty. It's all good.
All right, Tai, right.
It's all fine. It's good to see everybody. What a room full of beautiful black atheists. What else can I say?
you know.
Okay, let me just as everyone in chat. Oh my goodness, we've got quite a few
Oh,
people already. We've got
yeah.
Drag says living religion is total freedom from bondage, and I completely agree.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've got Dark Voices ASMR. Unfortunately, he's not first today. There's usually a competition between Dark Voices and Steve McRae manager.
Career
So,
manager.
Right.
right. Hey, Swedish Steve.
Hey, sweetest Steve.
We only saw Swedish Steve just a minute ago, and now we're here together. Yeah, we've got Ian Davenport. Hey, Ian Davenport. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Ian.
And this right here, does anyone know who this is?
Hey, that's me.
No, that's you. Oh,
No, no. No, does anyone know whose channel that is?
DOEN or
That's
profit.
Tessia. That's Tessia's channel.
Hey,
Oh,
Tercy, what's up?
That's Tessia. We've
hi,
got Beach.
Tessia.
Hey, Beach. Good to see you, Beach. Yeah, so well, you
Yeah.
are today's winner, Beach. Well done. You receive a claps Bible in the post next month. Oh, I was sending out Bibles. We're trying to get rid of Bibles, Ian Davenport. We're trying to get rid of them in schools.
Yeah.
Not trying to,
Yeah.
well, you can read them for your own personal just for pleasure, but
Yeah.
not
Or
any.
comparative
Yeah,
religions.
that's right. We got Hidden Tech Gems. Hey, Hidden Tech Gems, good to see you.
Mhm.
Alibis, hey, Alibis, good to see
Happy
you.
Sunday.
Yes,
Happy
happy Sunday
Sunday.
to you too. Who else? Yes, Ornella Stout is here too. Ornella, yes, finally on time.
Only your
Ornella,
time.
Ornella usually catches the stream after it's finished, and she makes sure she tells me in the chat, "Sorry, I couldn't make it, but here I am watching the replay." So it's good to have Ornella here. So yes,
Mhm.
everyone, good to have you all here.
Ornella.
Oh, yes. So Ty, it's good to have you here once
Good
again.
to be here. Good to be here. Speaking of happy Sundays, there was supposed to be a group lunch that my job was going to have on Saturday.
Mhm.
I was going to go with a friend of mine who's a Christian and a couple of other friends. We were going to go and eat food, but the thing was he couldn't go on Saturday because he's a Seventh Day Adventist, and so the other group of friends, I said, let's just move to Sunday. But the other group of friends have a holy day on Sunday and they go to church and they can't make it
Mhm.
during there. And I'm just like, you guys are both Christians. You figure it out. I'm the atheist that just wants to eat with you guys. Just you guys have fun. It's such a shame that the same God has picked different holy days and
Long
hasn't
days.
really
Yeah.
communicated the message
He
out.
can't. He can't. He
Yeah.
can't, he can't be
Yeah.
the same God.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
we're just stuck with Uber Eats and whatever else, the scraps can left behind. So just figure it out. Let me know, and then we can go out and eat together. That's it.
Right. So this stream is titled "Leaving Religion and Christianity Behind,"
Mhm.
and just I'm just going to just give a brief introduction into why this channel started. I was an atheist for 40 good years of my life, and I got to a point I started questioning, why do I believe what I believe? And the moment I started to question the more questions, there were no answers. And the more no one could answer my questions, then more questions seemed to come up, and just on and on and on. And if there are no answers to these questions, very important questions, questions about hell, questions about heaven, questions about very, very important things, then what am I supposed to do? And so it was a long, long journey. And coming on YouTube and watching YouTube videos really, really helped. Just watching people have conversations like what we're engaging in today, watching debates. And I noticed that there really wasn't a presence of Black atheists. And I will go further to say the presence of Black female atheists.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will go further to narrow it down to African atheists. It's a very tiny, it's a very, it's very minute number
Mm.
who are openly out there, proud and
Mm.
just being open about being atheists.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, I want to be a face for people to be able to realize that if I can do it, if I can question, if I can come away from religion and live a happy and fulfilled life, then people in my age bracket, they can do it too. Women
Right.
like themselves, they can do it. You don't have to be,
Yeah.
because the stereotype for atheism is white,
Men.
middle age, older men, professor like looking,
New Balance shoes. Yeah.
those
The whole thing.
kind of people,
Yeah.
and I'm, they've got their nice, maybe British accents, and they're nice, talking up their noses and stuff. But I'm nothing like that. But
Mm.
I'm an atheist, and
Mm.
I've got here because I've done the work. I've questioned. I've done research, and here I am. And so
Right.
that's why this channel was started. And during the course of the channel, I've met Phil. He has his own channel. We share the same sort of because Phil is from the Caribbean, and over there they're highly religious too.
Yep.
So it was interesting to try and um, you know compare
Yeah.
Africa and
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean. And it's interesting, the findings. We're still working on doing streams, comparing, contrasting. Now we're having African pastors going over to the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
God has somehow given these African pastors messages for the Caribbean people.
Mm.
So, yes, that's
Oh,
just a
God.
brief. Phil, do you want to tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. Um, like how Esther said, she started her channel because especially she realized that there were very, very few, if any, Black um, females who were, bringing content online, especially from Africa. I realized from the Caribbean too. I don't think there's any, as far as I know, Black females. And I know there are very few Black from the Caribbean that is actually have content online. And they wanted to expose what is happening in the Caribbean to the rest of the world, especially with how religion is playing a major role.
Mm.
Christianity, especially, mainly a major role in the public aspects of the Caribbean. Even though the governments in the Caribbean, a lot of them will claim that we are secularists, they pander a lot to Christianity. You still have in schools, not only here in Barbados, in St. Lucia, in the Bahamas, in a
Virgin
lot of the
Islands.
English speaking, the English speaking Caribbean, a lot of you have Christianity devotions during assemblies in public schools,
Mm.
right? And you get a lot of pushback. If you say remove this from the schools, you get a pushback from a lot of the evangelicals and the Christians in the island. And some of them claim that they are Christian country, even though they're 70%, yeah, Christian, but you still have a good majority, 30% that are not, right? And it's a pluralistic society. So just because the majority is Christian does not make the society
Right.
Christian.
Right.
That is separatist and tribalistic,
Hmm.
right? So I started my channel to expose what is going on in the Caribbean. And because of uh, I had an episode, a heart episode in February, and being home, I was able to was able to connect with Esther, and we just got talking and saying, "Oh yeah, we realized some similarities here between because a lot of people in the Caribbean came from Africa. A lot of the black people, the Caribbean is black, and many of them came from Nigeria, Ghana, and so on. So some of that was being brought over, right? The same English that took their religion over there also have it here. So yeah.
Right. So, Ty, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. So referring to why it's important to see, Black atheist faces. When I grew up, I didn't know what I wanted to be as far as profession because I didn't know what options I had available to me. And I was the kind of kid who would sit on my free time like at 6 years old and like with a pen and paper just draw football formation diagrams because the only time I saw black people on TV is when they were doing sports. And so I thought that's the only option I have when I grow up is to go into football or basketball. And I'd rather play football than basketball because it seemed like less running to me. So I'm just there pretending to like study because I had no other heroes aside from sports figures, aside from what the media gave me as these are your options. And I didn't think about it back then, but like when you're a kid and you're influenced or very easily influenced, like you're constantly looking around for examples of paths that you can get on. And that not only applies to, your profession, but also belief systems as well. When I went to a church and there was a black pastor at the head of it, that looked very important to me because that's a person who has authority. That's a person who's maintaining congregation. My mom goes to them. Other family members are going to him to listen to this man once a week. And I thought, okay, well, there's another option for me. But it wasn't until I saw an episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy, who, if you guys aren't familiar with him,
I'm familiar.
he's a 90s science enthusiast who did a great job of introducing a lot of scientific knowledge to kids who maybe didn't have access to it in schools, in their particular curriculums. But he did a great job in making it an enthusiastic approach towards loving critical thought and more objective ways of thinking. And one of the most powerful examples in his show was he would have kids do science experiments. And so it wasn't just him talking all day, and it wasn't like puppets or cartoon characters. It was actual kids doing experiments, talking with authority on the idea of science and how things work. And one of the kids was a black kid. And actually, there was a black girl and a black boy. And I was just like, oh man, like a light bulb going off in my head. One, I love science. Two, it's accessible for me to understand. And three, black people can do it too. I didn't thought that was an option. I never thought that had to be explained to me, but it was the first time, like, again, you on TV, which is something, I lived on, right? And, as most kids in the 90s, like it was Flintstones, Jetsons, and like whatever white person on TV could talk to me. And this is a black kid, and he's saying you can do science and it's easy and it's fun. And I'm like, I love it. So that changed. I took all the like football notebooks, put them down, started picking up chemistry books. My sister had a bunch of high school textbooks. I was reading through those things too. Started a great love of science and working towards trying to learn it to a capacity where I can easily break it down for other people too, so that they can have a similar experience loving it as well. And so that took me all the way to my graduate career. Got my Ph.D. at Georgia Tech. Met Bill Nye at Georgia Tech too. He did a talk at our school. That was really cool. Got to ask him a question about Pluto. It was great. If he was disappointed that it wasn't a planet anymore, he's like, no, we need better. Science needs to update words all the time. That happens all the time. And so it's just a much more accurate classification. I'm just like, I love that. That's fine. That's great. That's on point. Good job, Bill Nye. But anyway, it wasn't until I was still a Christian all the way up until I think undergrad. And I was very, very confident in my Christianity. So like I was the kind of guy who had a lanyard around my neck that says, I love Jesus. And I was thinking about like, what would I do Jesus tattoo I would get? Because again, my role models were like pastors who were black, the Baptist guys. And we moved to a lot of different churches growing up. And so we always had like a church that was like, headed or was ingrained in a black community and had a lot of black leaders in its congregation. And so I thought, I know this very well. I know morality. I know ethics very well. So when I took a class for ethics, I thought I knew all the answers. I thought I knew exactly how to be moral, how to be ethical. And when I'm answering the questions on these tests with the authority that I thought I was given by my holy, powerful best friend who controlled the universe, none of those answers obviously went through. But I'm like, when I do science, I have the answers, and that felt good. And I was pretty confident that passed. But when I do ethics, nothing passes. And I'm like, I don't want to fail because this is part of like my career towards, getting my degree. And so I'm thinking like, what's my problem? Is morality basically the list of rules that I have in my head that I'm just trying to follow? Or is it more complex than that? Is it a system that I have to apply? It's a system, not necessarily a list of answers at the back of the book. It's the front of the book itself that teaches you how to do these complex interactions with humanity and realize what are the consequences of my action. So like when I started thinking about that critically, I was like, I'm going to try to readdress these questions, but I'm not going to use my Christian dogma. And next thing you know, I'm starting passing. I'm answering questions in class. And he's like, correct. And I'm like, he never says correct when he looks at me. That's fantastic. Like I'm getting it, but I'm not using my Christian stuff. And my Christian was my authority on morality. So I go back and I do the one thing that most atheists do or what most Christians do when they are about to become an atheist is I read the Bible from like actual chapter 1 to chapter 2. And I didn't read it like I was in Bible school. And I'm just like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Abel begot Moses, begot Moses, begot. Yeah. And that happened. And that I didn't read it like that. I read it like a true, like, let's part this out as like a critical lecture on why this happened. As a Christian, I'm reading this with all the grace and leverage and bias of a Christian. I'm reading this as a critical piece of work, literature. And it was a difficult read because even after the suspension of disbelief faded, and I was like seeing all these miracles, it was just also very poorly written. Like it's front loaded. There's a lot of boring numbers, is very boring. And I'm like reading through and I'm waiting for the part where it's like, where's the morality and the Christianity? Where's the magic sauce that all these pastors have been dishing me out every single time? And it never happened. And I'll tell you this too, not only that, but like I'm reading stories of like God and Satan hanging out together, making bets on people on whether or not they kill them or not. And God being like, I can totally kill this guy. And I'm like, God, you're supposed to be the good one. You're supposed to be the one that says like, no, I don't take bets on people. Like you're doing everything wrong. And like the whole idea of like human sacrifice, even through Jesus, like sacrificing a person because of rules that you came up with for the sake of other people who in a system that you set up yourself to fail, to be put in this situation where I can imagine a father would ever put themselves in a situation where they'd want to kill their son. Yet you have, that's terrible. Like, can we agree that's terrible? It's like, and I realized like I could not reconcile the morality that I learned through academics with the morality that I had in the Bible. So I said, oh, you know what? I'm just not going to read any of these parts. I'm going to just stick to like Psalms and Proverbs. Reading Proverbs, nothing was meaningful. It's just all truisms. It's like the water is wet because wet is water. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. That's dumb. We need better. I'm not getting spiritually fulfilled. So I just said, you know what? I'm still a Christian. I'm just not going to read this book. I don't need the Bible to be a Christian. And then at a certain point, it was like, I can be a Christian, but I don't necessarily need the label of religion, right? And then it was like another step in it where it was just like, I'm just irreligious, but I'm not one of those dirty atheists, right? Like I don't need the A word. I'm just irreligious. If someone says Christian party here, I'll be like, yeah, I'll go there. But I'll also be like, yeah, but I'm not gonna like do XYZ. I'm kind of like just, I'm here hanging out because I'm not one of them. And it wasn't until like one of my jobs took me to Sweden. Sweden, by the way, has like one of the highest per capita of Swedish Steve can vote, support this, of atheists per capita. And like
Yeah.
my first
Mm,
experience of being like in Sweden was just like nobody cares if you're an atheist. In fact, like that's
Mhm.
the default expectation. It's weird if you
yes.
are religious. And like I had all this pressure putting on me to don't say you're an atheist, don't admit that you have lost your faith. And I was just like, I don't believe in Christianity. Nobody cares. I'm like, oh, Christianity's kind of dumb. And no one cares. Like, oh, this is bizarre. This is great. Oh my gosh. So like for the full 2 years I was over there, it's just like, hey, let me tell you why all these arguments don't make sense. I'm excited, I'm exasperated, and I'm just like
Mm,
explaining all this stuff. I'm finding like a new outline for myself mentally. And I
Mhm.
had a great time over there, but I had to eventually come back. And I came back to Georgia because I needed to graduate. And it wasn't until I
Mhm.
came back that I realized, okay, I am frustrated because I had such an enlightening process that finally
Mhm.
punctuated when I was overseas and I came back, and it's still the stay-ad, dogmatic, conservative points of views here. But I can see where all the problems are. Like I can
mm,
see them as clear as day. Like you believe in this due to all these terrible methodologies because
Mhm.
you're using an argument for authority to prove if something's right or wrong. You're using an argument for personal bias. You have confirmation bias. You got this. You got that. You got circular reasoning. You have. No one cares because they were happy with what they were raised in. They were comfortable, and
Mhm.
even if they're using an argument for comfort to choose right and wrong, they didn't care. And I didn't know of a good way to talk to any of these people. Um,
Mhm.
I looked up methods online to get better at it, and I've developed a style of talking to people about what they believed was
Mhm.
true and not true in a non-argumentative sense. Because when I looked online, I only had examples of white people arguing with each other or white people debating each other, and I'm just like, is there a better method that I can work on to just have like a nice conversational approach?
Mhm.
And can I document myself doing it so that way I could be a face for people, whether they look like me or not, to just have an option if they have the same lack of belief as I do, to have these conversations with deeply rooted, conservative, thoughtful people who have these religious beliefs and just need to ask a couple of questions to maybe recognize that they don't have a good reasoning for them to. Yeah, apologists do kind of squeam me out.
absolutely, Beach. Absolutely.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry if I'm going too long, but yeah, I
No,
worked on
no, no,
that.
no,
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 no.
no.
Okay, okay. I was working on that for a bit, and then I said, Black Lives Matter also happened at the same time too, and
Mm,
then
Mhm.
COVID happened, and I
Mhm.
realized like I'm investing a lot of my emotional well-being on the interests of getting people to try to understand that they need to change their mind. But I have a body of work that they can always look up, and so now I'm thinking to myself like I need to start thinking about healthier hobbies to maintain long term. And so I
right.
found that instead of sitting down in a structured format and having conversations with people and with cameras facing me, what I'm just going to do is enjoy my life with my time doing my hobbies. And when the opportunities come, have those same conversations without the cameras, with my friends or with strangers or with passerbys in much more convenient short term environments, just to show like, hey, if you're interested in what the conversation we have, I have these videos if you want to see them. You don't have to see them if you don't want to, but I'm happy to talk
Mhm.
to you right now and see if you have a good reason for or a good methodology to get to the conclusion. I don't care what the conclusion is. I just want to know about that methodology that you're using and if it's reliable. If not, I want to be able to like, work on that with you to see if we can get a better one to get you to the same conclusion. And if we can't do that together, maybe what does that tell you about the conclusion that you have? I
Mhm.
found that to just be a really useful approach to get to a lot of people. And then with that, I found Larry's group, who I do a podcast with, Digital Free Thought Radio Hour. We found John
Yes.
Richards through that. I found Esther through that. And I found my own community of people. Haven't found many black faces, so I am glad that I met you
Mhm.
guys. I
Mm,
did go
mm.
through that whole
Right.
transition on my own without meeting another black person, honestly.
Oh,
Like
wow.
Yeah.
and it was rough because I think it would have been a lot easier if I was a white guy to swap to atheism because there's so many
Mm-hmm,
heroes
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that are put on
Mhm.
pedestals to find that. But especially if you're a
Mhm.
black woman, oh, that's
Yes.
rough. That's so
Mm,
rough. So
mm,
yeah,
mm.
Yeah.
I'm happy to speak up and speak out and be open about my atheism. I got a little label on the back of my car, and when people know me
What is
within
what's
the
the
first,
label?
I got a little American Atheist logo on the back of my
Oh,
Oh.
car.
nice.
Yeah, just to
Mm.
make it a point. But
Right.
like when
Yeah.
people get to know me, especially in my current position as a laboratory manager at
Mm-hmm.
a engineering firm, they
Mhm.
know that I'm an atheist, and I don't make it a big deal. but they now know, like, hey, I like Tyrone, but he's also one of those A words. And that, I hope that makes it a little easier for them when they get presented with the A word, if they're ever having a crisis of faith, to realize that this is what atheists are, this is what they can look like, and we're not all like the scary demon that Christians make us out to be, or whatever dogma makes us out to be.
So to normalize atheism, the conversation we're having earlier on about someone saying that we cook babies and eat babies, right? And these sorts of crazy things that they say about atheists,
or that we're angry.
Angry people.
It's funny. It's because like the stereotypes they put on atheism is like doubly so for the Black community, right?
Yes.
Like
yeah.
How hard is it to be angry and Black in public? And then also to be an angry atheist on top of that, like you're just adding more baggage on top of us.
Anyway. So then there was a question when you were at church. What did they tell you atheists were?
They was never brought up. It was never brought up. I had no idea what the definition of the word meant until I was overseas and doing my work. One, I didn't have any idea that there was an option not to believe. And secondly, when I did find out what atheism was, it was just this old term that I thought no one followed. I didn't think like there was actual groups. And when I heard of like atheists, like when that noise became louder and louder, it was just like, well, that doesn't apply to me, so it doesn't matter. And then as it kept getting louder, I'm like, okay, I'll listen to a couple of things. They're making some points, but I'm still not as crazy as that group because they're so fringe and unnatural. And then finally I'm like, oh, they're everywhere. And it's not only common, I started out as an atheist. That was a default position until I was indoctrinated into the faith system that I was in. Everyone was an atheist first.
Dr. Ty, I know why you're an atheist. Tell the truth. You're an atheist because you want to sin.
Sinning is pretty fun, I'll be honest with you. There's a list of sins. I'm like, all of these are pretty awesome, and I do like to do these things. So yeah, if you want to throw that into the reasoning, I'm totally fine with it. There's a lot of great sins in that sin.
Because they have said, oh, the reason why you're an atheist because you want to sin.
It's kind of like they don't have to be sins. I don't like. Obviously, we don't subscribe to the idea of like, sins. But two, there are a lot of sins that are on that book that are just like, that's just a fun time. Come on, guys, what are you doing?
But the Bible is the ultimate sin book. The Bible is if you want to know about people sinning, open that book and you will find out. Right? It's all in there. Now, before I'm so sorry, I'm going to take a little intermission here. It's someone's birthday in the chat, and here we always celebrate people's birthdays. I've got my special microphone.
Pull up the mic.
Yes, where's my special microphone? I need to find it first, Phil. I need to find it first. There we go.
Oh yes.
Right.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
So, Dr. Ty, I used to be in the choir, right? And you know what that's like, right? So, because now as an atheist, I'm really not singing in any groups or anything. So here we make it a point from time to time. They like to hear me sing.
Okay.
So yes,
awesome.
if it's anyone's birthday, we do try and sing happy birthday. So it's Teal's birthday today. Happy birthday, Teal.
Happy birthday to you. Are we all allowed to sing?
Yes, go on.
Birthday.
you. Happy
birthday, dear Teal. Happy birthday to you.
Hooray! Yeah.
Right. So that's it. Happy birthday to you.
Hey, a while back I saw a question from Hidden Tech Gems.
Oh, well, okay. I didn't see it.
He asked me, what was the biggest thing you struggled with while deconverting?
Right. Yeah.
How to talk to people to get them to deconvert too. And I realized that you can never cause someone to do that.
No.
But you can examine how they are maintaining their current belief in a system, and help them examine if they reach that conclusion in a reliable way or not. Because if you work together on that aspect, it's not me saying, hey, your conclusion is wrong, your God belief is wrong, your moral system is wrong. I'm not attacking that. Like, you can believe in that God. If you show me a reliable way to get there, I'll believe in that God too. Well, I'll ditch atheism at the floor. I have no investment in atheism. I'll jump it into the nearest trash can as soon as someone can make a reliable argument to show me a God. I'm happy to go for there. But if we are working together to try to figure out a reasonable way to why you arrived at this conclusion, and we can't get there when we're working together, and I'm pointing out a lot of like broken rungs on this ladder, and I'm asking you, how are you sure this thing that you're saying is at the end of the ladder is at the end of the ladder? Because we can't get up there because none of these rungs work. It's like, I may need a different ladder. I'm totally fine if you get a different reasoning. That's better. And eventually I find, like, as people try to continue to work on better methodologies to reach their conclusions, one of two things happen. One, they actually get that better method, which is great because it's an improvement over their previous method, or they ditch the conclusion, which is also good because they didn't have a reason or a basis to believe it in the first place.
Yes.
Both of those things are good things. And that's essentially the science model in its own right? It's like, hey, if you don't have a way to justify this, stop claiming it's true.
True.
But if you do have a better way of getting it, ditch the bad ways and just have that streamlined best way to get there. That's what I wish people would employ towards their God belief. It was a frustrating process, but now that I'm here, I realized there was a period of time where I felt like I always had to do it, and now I realize I can do it at my own leisure, and that was very empowering for me too. And so now when I do, go ahead.
Going on from there, I am going to show something, and this is your channel and what you do on your channel, because I think you do something amazing on your channel, and it just links into what you were talking about just now. Your channel is titled Let's Chat.
Sure.
And I've watched quite a few of your videos where you go and have conversations, otherwise known as street epistemology. Right.
Yeah, you could also say it as Socratic examination too. I found like that's an easier way of explaining it.
Right. Yeah. And also, so I will do this, show the video, just a little clip, because you could, like you said, you just do it for leisure, during your leisure time, going to ask people what they believe and why they believe and all those good stuff.
Oh, I'm interested. What clip are you going to show? Let's see.
This one. Is it a good one?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Right? You sure? Right. Okay. I
can give the background on this if this plays in the background, or however you'd like to do it.
But go on. If you can tell us the background while I put the link to your channel, and I want people to please do go subscribe.
And you can even see in the channel. You can even see in the suggested videos on the side, there's a guy who says, I'm 100% confident about Jesus.
Oh, where? Oh, yeah. Where is it? Where is it?
Top right corner.
Top right corner.
Should we do that one then? Should we do that one?
That one too. We don't have to show the whole thing, but yeah. I'd recommend that people check it out. But the whole idea is...
I think let's do that one.
I normally... go on ahead. You can listen to this. Click it.
No, but you were going to tell us about it before we...
If you click it, it'll go to like an intro song, and then at that point I can explain it. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Nice.
When would I be justified with a weather report
to say it's 100% going to rain?
Yeah.
When it's raining. That's the only time.
Might be.
Great. So like the whole idea is like, I'm not coming out with like a series of flow charts. I don't have a lot of books or like an acumen in like apologetics. All I'm doing is tackling the reasonings that I'm given and responding as if I was just like, just a good friend, just trying to help a person out in terms of like assessing that belief system. So like he's saying, hey, I'm 100% confident about Jesus. And he gave me his reasonings. And I was like, 100% is very, very strong. Can I just get like a reference? So like if I saw that there was a weather report and it said, like 100% chance of rain, is there a chance that could be wrong? And he's like, yeah, even that could be wrong. It's like, when would you have 100% confidence in a weather report? Because he's talking about his holy book as like a report from God. And he's just like, well, I would never be 100% confident on weather, even though we have Doppler radars, even though we've got, all the technology, people, Ph.D s, you can talk to people, you can look up at the sky, you can see the clouds coming at you. You have so much great evidence for a fairly mundane thing like weather compared to a God belief. and all you have is this book that's like thousands of years old.
Mhm.
Yet we have not a complete 100% confidence in this
Mhm.
relatively much lower claim, and much higher confidence at 100%, closed-minded,
Mhm.
like absolute, in this tenuous book, in this holy book. And I'm wondering, like, is the fact that the book reports, your holy book reports that there's a God, does that alone justify 100% confidence, when I could have a weather report that justifies that it'll rain tomorrow at 100% certainty, and you still wouldn't be 100% confident in that? And it's like stuff like that is just, I don't think he gets those conversations at his church, but he,
Right.
in a back and forth conversation, he realizes maybe maybe 100% is too strong. Maybe let me walk this back and define what I mean by 100%. What I
Right.
really mean is that I'm just very, very certain, maybe to about like 95%. Listen, that's one of the biggest things that is very useful. We went from 100% certainty as like a
Mhm.
moral statement of like, hey, I'm so Christian, I'm closed-minded on the idea that anything else could be true. Like, I'm 100%, I'm at capacity, I can't learn anymore. This is my belief from here until I die. I'm confident in this, absolutely. 2, I'm willing to allow a little bit of doubt in the idea that, you know, the virtues that I'm presented in this God, in this holy book, could be wrong just based on my limited understanding as a human being. I'm not as absolute as I used to be. Like, that one step back is so good, and you can have that within, I think, maybe about the first 5 minutes of any kind of
Yes.
conversation you have. That's the
Mhm.
step that frees them from that dogmatic chain that they're on, and allows
Yes.
them to start a pursuit. If they can go from 100% to 99%, and then steadily realize, you know what, maybe he had some good points. Maybe I'll come back and talk to him again. Maybe I'll talk to someone else who will have asked me these kinds of questions. Maybe I'll think about this on my own and just ask myself these questions, because he wasn't attacking my conclusion, just the process that I was using to get there. Maybe I'll ask my pastor the questions he was asking me and see what my pastor says. That can get someone on a good path to try to figure out how to reassess how they reach the conclusion with such a high degree of confidence. And I feel like that's like the whole point of the channel. And I'm not doing it through a debate or an argument. It's just in the regular
Absolutely
conversation with
not.
somebody.
I personally don't like all those debates when they're going back and forth. It's a win. Someone must win. And
Right.
I personally tell you, which one is my, it just winds me up the bad way when I hear presuppositions, when they talk
Right.
about arguments. Oh,
It
it's some,
sucks when they come out with a script
oh,
that they're already going to say,
mm,
but
mm,
then
mm.
spend their debate time warming up the audience as if they're trying to seem like a nicer character than the other person.
Mhm.
And whoever makes the best impression on a personal level feels like they came away with the best win, because they already know no one's going to change their mind anyway. So it's just like,
Yeah.
why are we pretending to be nice to each other if we have no intention of ever listening to each other? And I feel like
Exactly.
when you remove the audience and you just have just two people
Mhm.
talking to each other, working together to help one person realize why they're so confident about a claim that they truly believe is true, it is a fantastic process, because we're just thinking about the thought process,
Yeah.
not the conclusion. It could be, I'm 100% true about skateboards never being allowed to ride in this park again. Like, that's totally fine. Let's talk about why you think that. If it's a good reason, I'll believe
Mhm.
it too. If it's a bad reason, maybe we can work on a better reason to get to the same conclusion. Or maybe we can realize that maybe we don't have a reason to think that this is a bad thing anymore. And that could be
Yeah.
useful as well.
Even the what you were saying, when y'all were talking about the precepts,
Yeah.
I think it's better for me. I think better to have discussion than to have a debate, because with discussion you can do this sort of thing where you can carry them through the questioning method rather than trying to present
Right.
a argument,
Yes.
right?
In
So
discussion, there's no opponent, right?
right,
But in
there's no
debates,
opponent,
mm,
right? And so then you can more easily suss out without having a moderator
mm,
trying to control the time and waiting 10 minutes later then for this person then to respond. And
right.
discussion is better, because then at that point you can say, okay, wait, hold a minute. I need some clarity here. Are you saying such and such?
Right.
So discussions are better than having a
Yes.
debate.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially ones where it's cooperative, right? Because I'm not discussing saying, let me tell you why atheism is better than your religion. I'm discussing, let me work with you to try to come up with the most reasonable way to reach the conclusion you already have. And that also will include me pointing out issues if there's trips present in your path to your conclusion, because you would want to know if there's trips present in your path as well, because who wants trips in their path, right? Who wants stones there? And so as we work together to try to get to their conclusion, we can stop at every juncture and be like, there's a problem here. Can we solve that? Yes, great. Let's keep moving forward. No, let's think about why that's there for a moment. And are we happy that that's there? Because if it's still going to be there regardless, doesn't that reduce our confidence because this is a problem? I think when you have these kinds of conversations, it can be really useful. That said, you don't necessarily have to, you'll find a lot of people doing this example online. And the only problem is like, you were alluding to it earlier, Esther, like there's not a lot of examples of Black females, Africans. And as a result, when we think about what does it mean to be an atheist or how does it mean to talk about atheism, we do it in a style that emulates the way that was popularized by a culture of mostly just white men. And so the way how we talk to each other, the way how white men talk to each other isn't going to work in the same way how a Black guy could talk to a white guy in a lot of ways, or how a man can talk to a woman. Like we are, there's a tonality, there's a cadence, there's an empathetic value that's not there or is underplayed when you're talking to different kinds of audiences. But if you only ever see white guys talking to each other, other white guys, about the nature of atheism, and this congratulatory pat on the back is like, hey, you're one of the greatest minds of atheism. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that very much. It begins to narrow the voice that atheism can actually have. And it's not the fault of atheists. I in my head, it's more just this culture of it's hard to recognize things after one thing gets very popular, right? And there's already a vehicle for people who have very little to lose and are willing to look at losing their religion, and those tend to be white men of some stature. And so that's going to be the voices that they'll listen to first, because it's like, this guy also has nothing to lose in announcing that he's an atheist. He probably has a job, he has a career, he's probably had 3 generations of families whose own homes and all this stuff and businesses. Like, he can afford to say that. But me, as like a Black atheist with even with a PhD, like, I had to be very careful about that when I started off with my career, because I didn't want to burn bridges or deal with a boss who was not a PhD, who was conservative, and who very much did love God and would be very suspicious of me just based on a personal level, just simply because I don't look like him and because I don't believe in the God that he believes in. That could be 2 strikes against me immediately. And so I'm lucky to work at the area that I am now, but I'm also very aware of the fact that, like, unless if we speak up and at least show that there's an option out there for different approaches to communicate with people, these kinds of voices don't get heard. And if that's the issue, then that really stymies in a lot of ways people of color becoming more prominent figures in a social space where there really doesn't need to be competition of floor space. I feel like there's enough room on social media for anybody to find an audience and find a group of people that they want to. It just has to be willing to speak up. And I feel like the more we do that, the more eager we'll find more people that can be as inspired by us as I was by Bill Nye the Science Guy's kids, you know?
That's right. Absolutely. So let's watch a little bit of this video, and then we carry on with our conversation. Okay, let's see here. Okay.
And you might practice for interviews. I got one tomorrow for a mining company.
Mining company.
Mining engineer.
Is it Westrock?
No.
Would you mind to move that phone? It's kind of.
Yeah, sure.
So did I call that a phone?
Yeah, no, you understand. I understand. See, we're both going on. We're texting too much.
I know, right?
More face to face.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, but it's Roger's group. It's I think they're more like on the material side of the mining.
Okay.
Of like aggregate mining, that kind of stuff.
Would you mind if I recorded the talk that we do?
Sure.
So I'm Ty, by the way.
Drew?
Nice to meet you.
Andrew, Drew, either way.
Drew, nice to meet you. So normally what I do, I set up and I'll set up in talks. Yeah, it's really rough. I'll set up in parks or campuses and just have conversations with people about whatever they strongly believe about, anything they think is true. Just have like a really fun conversation that's face to face. And so like there's advantages to having like a face to face communication.
You get a lot more. I agree.
You do. Also, I feel like there's empathy that you don't get when you talk like over computers and
there's a lot of nonverbal communication.
Exactly. And
I work in ministries a lot, so
Okay.
I understand. I work at middle school ministry back then.
Oh man, that sounds interesting. So really, then, is there? So really, I take the stance of like, I don't know. I'm willing to learn. What do you got? Let's have a clear conversation about something you strongly believe is true, something you can't be wrong about. Normally, some stuff guys over there, it'd be cool if it was like something supernatural based, like karma or God belief. Can we talk about your faith? All right, Drew, Christian, and normally it's good if we like censor it around like something you know is true. Like I know you're a Christian. You're a Christian.
Yeah. I lead a
I'm pretty
church
confident
back
about
home,
that. Yeah. But like, what about Christianity do you think is very true?
We talk about God's a loving God, but also no, I'm trying to think of the different parts of
Yeah, do you got anything like more objective? Like maybe
about,
God exists. That's pretty big.
And we could do God exists, sure.
Yeah, that's big.
I've had Baltimore, so I've had that argument many times.
See, I'm not here to argue with anyone.
No. I just mean like I have a lot of points on that I thought.
So, Dr. Ty, how did you approach Drew?
I didn't approach Drew. That's the one weird thing about this process. So, like, while I have my extroverted moments, I am too nervous to just approach people and have this kind of conversation with them. So what I did was I have a table set up at the University of Kentucky that just has my logo that says "Let's chat" at the bottom. It says about anything you want, and I will sit on one side of the table and I will either read on my Kindle or just look up with some eagerness. And some other extrovert will come and approach me and be like, "Sure, I'll have a conversation with you." And that is, into my head, an indication of, okay, now I don't have to worry about keeping this person engaged and sitting in front of me. I also have an hourglass on the table that's a 5-minute timer. It's a good visual indicator of like, I'm not trying to waste your time, and this won't take longer than 5 minutes. And that's why you see my Twitter is 5-minute chat. I think in this video too, I'll also be like, I'm only going to take your time. If the time is up and you still want to sit down and keep talking, I'm totally fine. If you want to leave earlier, that's fine too. But I'm just trying to let you know, if you want to get up and go away after 5 minutes, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm not going to hold you to this. And so it's just a good way to show respect to other people. I have a notebook there with a little marker. Like, I'm trying to keep notes. I'm not looking away. I don't have music in my ears. I'm also like 100 pounds heavier than I used to be. I lost like 100 weight. I feel bad when I look. I don't feel bad. I feel more jolly back then. I appreciate it. I couldn't fit in that shirt anymore. I'll tell you that. But
I think we need to get you on the next show. Losing pounds with Dr. Ty. I think that's the losing the pounds with Dr. Ty.
Sure.
Right. So I know from watching some of your conversations with people, you have actually gone out there and had conversations that had nothing to do with God, nothing to do with religion. I think in some cases you've talked about basketball.
Or movie stars, or what's the best dog to raise in Tennessee, grass, literally, what was it, hay fever or bluegrass causing pollen allergies. I'll have science talks. I'll have non-religious talks and religious talks. It turns out that I'll put a lot of them on my channel, but it takes time to edit. And I feel like the ones that have the most impact are the ones where they are religious in mind. So yes, I do bias the ones that are religious to edit. I even have like a folder filled with more religious talks. I just haven't gotten the time to get through because they keep saying the same thing. So I'm just like, why am I always like,
same old argument.
It's the exact same thing. Like, you do this for like 3 years and you realize they're not saying anything new. I might as well just direct them to the older videos. Like, the conversation we're having right now could be a conversation that could be, and in this video from 2018 could be one that I could have 4 weeks from now, right? Like, it's not going to be that different. And that's the difference between religion and, in my head, a science mindset. Because I was talking to Phil about this earlier. When we graduated compared to when we started school, periodic table looked completely different than it does now. When I started my job, there's way more elements on it because science is always reiterating. It's not like those new elements were made out of nothing. We just now have better techniques to study them. And that's why we're filling out that table. Before we didn't. Whereas with the God belief and these, Christian ideals, it's the exact same method. And God is saying the exact same things. We've never developed a better system to understand God's word. And that's why I can't go to lunch on the weekend with half my Christian or all my Christian friends, because some think Saturday is the holy day and some think Sunday is the holy day. They haven't figured out. I haven't even figured that out. I'm just like, come on, guys.
Dr. Ty, there's an answer for that. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Why does he name the weeks after Roman gods and the sun? Like, we gotta have to figure that out.
You'll have to ask. Okay, let's just watch a few more minutes of this, and then we'll go back.
The whole point in this is setting up the conversation. It's a little bit faster, but it's totally fine. But the whole idea
Should I
is
slow it down?
I think you're maybe at 1.25 speed.
Yes.
But the whole idea is
I'll slow it down because we're only just going to listen to a few more minutes. And I mean, please, guys, I'll put the link in the chat. Please go listen. And I think this is really good for having conversations, right? I'm not on this channel. I'm not one for debates. I've been challenged to debates about why I'm an atheist, and
not fun.
I personally don't care for those kind of conversations.
Right.
I'd rather have these sorts of conversations. And of course, I would like to get better at having these conversations. So, yes.
And I want to highlight the tone of the minutes that we're going to watch on this and encourage anyone else who wants to see it, totally do so. But this doesn't look like an argument. This doesn't look like a debate through the whole way. We could be best friends just chatting at the park bench, for example. But go on ahead.
Okay, nice.
About a lot because I had the discussions about it with
people. Okay, and let you know, I'm not about argument. I'm
not trying to argue with you.
Yeah, I said you were. No, I'm just playing. You see what I'm doing? Anyway, so God exists. Which God are we talking about?
Jesus Christ.
Jesus
Father,
Christ.
Son, Holy Spirit. All
So
3 in 1. It's 3 in 1. It's not
Trinity.
Trinity.
Is this like
that becomes a different argument?
Yeah,
that becomes a different conversation, but depending on what branch of Christianity.
Could we say like the supernatural side of the Trinity exists? Because I wouldn't argue that a guy named Jesus exists in a while.
Yeah.
You understand
Jesus
what I'm going with that?
God. We can say that.
Or a God exists and it was Jesus.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Apples and oranges at this point. I'm wondering, is this like the biblical version or is it the Catholic version, Protestant?
Biblical.
Which Bible?
So I use either ESV or NASB, if you know what that is.
I know NSV.
Well, NASB.
I don't know NASB.
So it's directly from the Greek and the Hebrew.
New American
Standard Bible. And it has, so in the back of my Bible, it's actually in my backpack.
What's that first one that you said?
ESV. Just the general, that's a very common one.
Okay.
But NA or NIV, honestly, all three.
I like
of those.
the NIV too.
I use all 3 of those.
Okay.
So NASB is nice because it has it's directly, so rather than being a translation of a translation, it's a translation from the original documents.
But pause there a minute. I know he got me. Okay, he said translation for the
I thought there were no
version.
originals, Phil.
There are no originals.
So
there
how
no
is
originals.
he getting?
And I'm making the point that I know that too, but this isn't.
You're right. That is
this
not
isn't.
what you.
Yeah, this isn't going to get us closer to the foundational reason of why he believes. This is what Christians tend to do unintentionally, just through the method. This is how poisonous Christianity is. When you are given reasons to believe, you're given all these ancillary paper-thin arguments. And when atheists try to like pull them apart, they waste all this energy and time, but they'll still maintain the core belief because you never touched that core belief.
Right.
So I'm letting him do 2 things. One, realize that when he says, I believe in Jesus Christ, I don't understand what he means by that because it means a different thing to every other Christian I've talked to at this table. Whether they're Presbyterian, Lutheran, Methodist, Baptist, you name it, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, they're all going to say something different. So which God are you talking about? Right. That question alone is like, what do you mean? Okay, well then I guess, are you Protestant? Or are you Catholic? Or like, what's going on? I'm in this section of faith. Now he's realizing there are a lot of other different kinds of Christians. And I can't just say I'm a Christian and get away with it. Right. And when I say, okay, so of the biblical, which Bible are we talking about? Because there are a lot of different kinds of Bibles. In Nigeria, they have different chapters than they do in the US, and people don't even know that. And so which Bible are we talking about? This standard. And I'm willing to admit when I don't know which version of the Bible that he's talking about, but I want to make sure that the words he's saying are the words that I'm understanding, because I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can just talk in very general terms, and I'll automatically come at that with my own assumptions. That plus him realizing that there are slightly different options that are not the same as the one he's willing to argue against right now. With 100% certainty is the same all across the board. And so what made him go to that one and not to the one where the Christian is sitting right next to him would say something slightly different? That's a world of difference for people like that. It's very good.
That's right. Oh, I love I absolutely love this. Phil, you were saying something. Did you finish your statement?
Yeah. No, I did finish
Okay.
my
All right.
statement.
Good.
Yeah.
So just a few more minutes of this, and
Sure.
we'll.
Wrap up. Okay.
In the back of my Bible.
Well, we'll soon wrap up, but I don't want to take the
Greek or Hebrew word.
let people go and watch it on your channel.
Aramaic, it's 3 languages.
Pretty cool. Would you say you're Catholic, Baptist,
No,
Methodist, Protestant?
Non-denominational.
Non-denominational, the best denominational.
Yeah,
You got a lot of Bibles for it too.
Yeah, I get to compare and I get to look through all the different things that people say, and
It's good to have multiple references for anything.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why I have an ESV Bible and an NASB Bible,
Nice.
so I can compare.
Do you have like a Mormon Bible as well and a Jehovah's Witness Bible? So it's strictly just different perspectives, but within the same
just
mindset.
Yeah, because Mormonism has, this
Different
comes back to,
perspectives, but within the
like,
same
sharing
mindset.
personal beliefs.
Didn't catch it, and he just kept going with it. But in my
Mhm.
head,
I caught what you were trying to do there.
it's like,
I caught what
yeah,
you were
I
trying
listen
do
to a
there.
lot of different kind of music, but they all start by rock, and they're all made by Elvis. It's just like, okay. So all by the same artist and the same genre. Yes, but a lot of different kinds of music. It's like, okay, yeah, but all by the same artist, same genre. Yes. Keep going through the conversation. In my head, I'm not going to tear that apart because that's not the foundation of his moral research, but it's a flag for me on my path to reaching his conclusion as well. But it's a
Right.
small flag. What I really want to get to is the foundational argument that's so important to him, that why he believes in that God, that if it was untrue, or if he realized it wasn't as good, he wouldn't believe in that God anymore, or he would reduce his confidence in it. It's not until you find that, which means you're going to have to pass some flags, that you won't make a meaningful impact. And Christians throw these things out in sometimes unknowingly as a distraction or a phalanx method to keep atheists distracted from getting to the core point. And so I can make these notes, but I'm still trying to drill down to the lowest base layer of what makes him believe in what he believes in. And it's not because of these Bibles, and it's not because of like, what his pastor said one weekend. There's something more foundational there. But anyway,
And he did say two things. He has said that he leads a ministry, and he is a non-denominational Christian. So how? Not
again,
sure how
he's non-denominational, but yet has very specific Bibles he reads from, and will not touch the Mormon Bible. He's just like, no, that's wrong. It's like, okay,
okay,
picking and choosing, or cherry picking, as we would say.
Picking of the cherries.
So with my faith, I don't really believe in a lot of, I don't believe in the second coming that Mormons believe in.
I get it.
Like that already happened.
Got it.
I don't believe.
Okay.
And they have a lot of other things, like they don't believe.
What about Catholic tenets?
Saints. I haven't done enough research. I need to do more research. That's
Jehovah's
one of the
Witness
topics
tenets?
I thought about.
Jehovah's Witness tenets?
Nah.
No? Okay.
I've talked with Jehovah's, which was actually fun. I had a guy in my class last year in high school that I got to talk to about it. He was a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, so I always ask these questions that way I don't come into the conversations with assumptions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Because
that's
that's not going to help anyone. But non-denominational, multiple different kinds of Bibles, believes that God exists.
Yeah.
How confident are you that God exists? Say from 0 to 100. 100%.
Ooh.
I'm just going to define 100% again, so I don't assume.
And I
100%
want to pause, if I could pause just real quick right here. So like I made an effort to understand where he's coming from, how he's defining things, and I'm also explaining to him why I'm doing it, because I'm not going to pull a rug underneath from him. This is not a gotcha conversation. We're having an open, honest discussion. There's no flow chart. I didn't say, do you believe in this God or that God? This one or this one? It's like, just tell me what you think. Okay, cool. Here's my summary. Is this sound good to you? Great. Now I'm gonna try to ask you a question, and I want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from this. So I'm going to define why I'm asking the question, and what do I mean by the numbers I'm going to say, because they're really important. And if you don't like the scale, maybe we can try something else. But like, what I really just trying to understand is like how certain you are about this God belief, because I want to know if there's any openness into your mindset behind it. And that's what
right.
That's what this whole spiel's about.
I'm so interested in how this conversation is going to go with the 100% belief in Jesus.
Like a guy who's so confident they know they can't be wrong.
Yep.
Has zero doubts.
Yep.
Closed-minded on the position.
Regardless
of whatever happens in the future,
whatever
or any
happens,
in the past, they will not change their mind.
I'm not going to change my mind.
Like literally, if like God comes down and is like, "Hey, by the way, my name is Barry. I don't know who this God person is. Barry, right? Barry." It's like, no, I'm holding out for the God that's named God. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If I mean, no, I would. I mean,
You would still hold true to the belief that
his name is
right now?
God. It's what we call him. He doesn't really have.
But he's saying his name
Yeah.
is Barry.
Yeah, and he's like not what I say.
Yeah, like he's got
not
like,
the
he looks like
biblical
Thor, but with a
beer belly.
a berry. But he looks super cool, and I'm like, holy crap, that's the dude. Yeah, like,
So,
sup? No,
If that happened, I would start thinking along the lines of, oh, this could be maybe in Revelations it talks about the what's it called, not the Antichrist, the false
imposter.
prophet, the false
imposter.
prophet. It talks about the false prophet.
So you still hold true no matter whatever. I assume. Okay, so 100% for sure.
Yeah, because it specifically talks about that in Revelations. At the end, the false prophet's going to come and everybody's going to try and follow him.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
What got you to your 100% level of confidence?
Good question.
Or what was the best thing?
Life experiences. I have lots and lots and lots of them.
Yeah.
So
What's the best one?
It's an important question because I'm not here to sit through one after the other, and it's only the best one that
Yeah,
matters.
that's the best one. Okay,
Not the
fantastic.
40,000 ones you're using.
compilation of things that
Yeah.
really leads to the.
But Christians are not used
What's
to
the
being
one
asked
that
this
if it didn't
question,
happen,
and will
Yes.
continue to try to pull to the general as a defense mechanism to hold true to the discomfort of uncertainty. They'll be like, well, it's
Yeah.
still a lot of different things. Like, you don't
Yeah.
realize that it's the weak chain that's the problem. So point out the strongest link on this chain, because every other one other than this would be weaker, right? So show me
Yes.
the best link in this chain that you got.
Yep.
Okay, just one more minute of this and we'll be done.
Knowing the Holy Spirit's there, like feel it, like
Oh, Holy Spirit.
other-
Oh,
I don't know how
oh,
to
oh.
explain it.
Experience of the
Yeah,
Holy Spirit?
I don't know how to explain it to non-believers,
Mm.
but like that's the one thing that's really hard in conversation is explaining like the feeling of the Holy Spirit. So like having the Holy Spirit there.
Also note the body language here.
Would you
feeling
say
that presence?
Mm.
Very strong presence of like, and at different occasions, like when I came to Christ initially, and like finally decided, oh, this is my own faith, not my parents.
Can I throw something out at you? If you didn't have that feeling, would your confidence drop at all? Not through a 0% or 50, but like from 100 to a 99 or 100 to a
That it
99.9.
exists. If
Yes.
that had never happened.
Yeah, if your
If that had
personal
never
experience with the
happened.
Holy Spirit and your life experiences, the ones that I guess the one that we're picking from is the Holy Spirit.
So
that
if,
didn't happen,
if
would that drop?
specifically the Holy Spirit didn't happen, but all the other things I've seen had happened, I would still believe because
It
like
would still believe
Yes.
100%.
So now we're not
Yeah,
talking
because
about this anymore.
So it doesn't seem
Because
like
we
that.
now know this isn't his foundational belief. So
Right.
like
it's also
that's great. I'm not going to waste time on something that won't change your
Daily stuff.
mind either way.
Mhm.
You said you wouldn't change your mind no matter what. I asked you what's the most important thing that you're using. He told me this. I said, if this wasn't true, would you change your mind? Like, no, then it's not the foundational belief. And if his position is I'm closed-minded, I've never changed my mind, we can talk about that too. Though oftentimes people will say that as a means to just get some moral currency, because having absolute faith is a sign of conviction, and their God loves that unquestioning, closed-minded point of view. But I don't want to waste time in a conversation like this on things that aren't actually important to him, but sound important to him. So he might say Holy Spirit, but I've said, if you didn't have that feeling, would it reduce your confidence? Even like you'd still have it at 100, you just be like 99% certain, not 100 anymore. It's like, nah, I'm not going to waste time talking about that. It doesn't sound like that's a foundational belief. What else then got you to that 100% confidence? Because that's what we're trying to figure out. It's the best method that gets you there. Not, I'll make one last analogy before we break. If I believed in God because of the Bible and a fortune cookie told me as well, it's not like I'm adding those two together to get to like 105%. It's like I'm using one more than the other. And so like a lot of the claims that we produce aren't necessarily additive. And if we assume they are, we have to also recognize that there's a lot of uncertainty that we're not adding and just adding the positive certainty. And we can be really biased with those kinds of unfortunate additions. What we really should be focusing on is what is the singular best method that you're using to get to your conclusion, and is that method reliable or not? Some people were mentioning this was street epistemology. Yep, you can find that on YouTube. You can also find Socratic examination on YouTube as well. I found that street epistemology has unfortunately become sort of evolved into like a very different thing than it was when I started back in 2018. And so my videos sort of like encapsulate the method that I appreciate doing it in. And it's not a structured format, but it is a potential vibe that it's a tool set that I use along with good conversational skills and empathy, deep empathy for the person I'm talking to. And I found that that's worked for me very well, particularly as a Black person talking to a lot of white people in the South. And I found that where street epistemology is moving towards works really great if you're a white guy talking to another white guy. Unfortunate. That's my impression, and not so much for everybody to use or employ. I appreciate the idea of I'm only using street epistemology to figure out how to talk about the methodology. Everything else is me being myself, me trying to make sure my person who I'm talking to is comfortable, me representing myself well, and having like a really good conversation where I'm trying to understand all the words that the person's using and asking fair questions and explaining where I'm coming from before I throw out any sort of question. And I found like that's been a really good approach that worked well for me. I think it will work well for other people too. And there's no reason why it can't work for anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dr. Ty, I've got two questions for you, and these are questions that are usually asked. And number one, how are you good without a God? And where are you getting your morality from if you're not borrowing from the Christian worldview?
Good question. How am I good without God? For me, is sort of a question of how do I apply morality? And morality has always been one of those really good questions for me. Now that I've left my ethics class that I was telling you about earlier, and my systems have, like science, evolved, but towards like a lot like evolution, towards a point that I feel like has given me a lot of productivity. And that has always generally just been to reduce needless harm as much as I possibly can. Needless harm is like doing cruel to the point where harm is being caused without any reason whatsoever. So, for example, I might do the Heimlich maneuver on a person, and I might bruise their chest a little bit, but it's towards them getting food dislodged. I wouldn't just randomly go up to a person and start doing the Heimlich maneuver on them, because I'd be potentially injuring them for no reason whatsoever. That's needless harm. Morality-wise, I would try to refrain from that. But I'm also trying to work towards a really good state of well-being. And I can work with that with some rules that I can set up that are not absolute, that are willing to be modified as needed, and always come with a little asterisk in the state of, with the exception for blah, 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 or with this and that. And so typically my rules is very similar to like, I like to say Kant, but really honestly, it's just, hey, I'm going to set up a rule that a morale that I'll set up. On my head, I'll do a thought experiment where I think, what if everybody did this exact same rule or follow the same rule? Would society have better well-being? Will we reduce needless harm? Fantastic. Can we improve on that better? Yes. Then let's modify the rule. I'm totally fine with that. And I found like that's been a really good way for me to systematically, and in a way where I can teach other people this system as well, a system of ethics and rules and morals that we can all follow, working better together. And I found that is not a list of decrees of rules. It's a system that you apply. And when you do that, it's so much better, because morality in my head is not a list of announcements at the back. It's not the answers of the test at the back of the book. It's the book itself that tells you how to do the math equations. So for me, it's very systematic in that process. It's been very satisfying. Go for it.
So it's not a set of moral pronouncements. It is more the methodology that is used to come to reducing harm, unnecessary harm, needless harm.
Yes.
Right. Which is very important, because it's like the equivalent to that is like teaching a person how to think rather than what to think.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to improve well-being and reduce needless harm. I will come up with rules that are malleable as a result, and I'm willing to just throw those out the window if we can come up with a better system of rules. And that involves me talking to a lot of people, allows me looking at laws. We can look at laws in a book and be like, this law could be improved, and then voting to change those laws for the better. You guys don't know this, but in Tennessee, slavery is a topic on the books for voting this year. If you're in Tennessee, please vote. You might be surprised, like, why is slavery a thing? Well, we have in our state constitution a statement that says slavery is prohibited except for, and then it lists a bunch of times where slavery is still okay. And I'm like,
whoa.
And you guys are like, yeah. And I'm like, can we please get that out of the constitution of our state, please? Because that's kind of scary. There should never be an exception. In my head, there should never be an exception for turning a person into a property. Right?
No way.
Correct.
In my head, it's like, where's the moral choice here? Like, is there any value in having a person be property? No, I can't find it. It's not necessarily a black swan fallacy. It's just, I'm aware of the harm that's caused
Mhm.
by enslaving people. And I
Yes.
don't see any benefit that we couldn't get from just hiring people to do the
People
same
to
amount of
do
work
the-
with
yeah.
a wage or freedom, right? As a human
Mhm.
being, the human rights. So
Right.
like it's one of those, the needless harm that's caused is so great that it doesn't outweigh any sort of other benefit.
Benefit.
Even when
Yeah.
slavery was completely legal, it just didn't seem right. So the fact that it's still in the Constitution, that should be changed. So we had the opportunity to change it this year. And so I would encourage
Okay.
anyone who was about to vote, please take off, if you're in Tennessee, any exception rules for slavery. It's still federally
Mhm.
illegal, but like, listen, if you're a black guy, in America, lynching
Mhm.
people as a hate crime was still legal, 2 years ago. And now it's
Oh,
finally
wow.
illegal on a federal level. So we are learning and we're making progress slowly, but it's
Mhm.
only through people who are making these decisions, these moral decisions, and realizing
Yes.
the law as it is isn't good. What can we do to reduce this needless harm, improve our
Mhm.
well-being, making these choices, being active in our society, and empowering other people to vote as well? I think that's the whole point of it.
Dr.
Yeah.
Ty,
That's how I'm doing about that.
this is going to be my final question,
Mm.
and I'm appalled at the religious, no, in religion about sexual repression.
Mm.
Why religion sort of, that's their go-to.
Mm.
People cannot live their true identities because
Right.
the religion says you can't be this, you can't be that, you can't
Right.
be gay, you can't be
Asexual.
lesbian, you can't be, whatever you
Yeah.
identify as. I have met atheists that still have some very skewed ideas around sexuality,
Yes.
Mm.
that still feel like it's the place of the man to have as many women as he wants, and the
Mm.
woman
Oh,
can't have, the
the
same
same.
thing. So this is my question to you, because I personally, one of the reasons why I'm an atheist today is because a God that cares too much about people's sexual life
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
experiences. I feel like if he cared too much about this, why create them with these physical body
Desires.
parts?
Yeah,
Mhm.
if
Why
God
create
loved,
this
why doesn't he just
desire?
watch porn? Like it's there's so much of it. Why does he care about anything else? We are so good at making it. We can produce it better than we can actually
Yeah.
do it for real. Just watch
But
porn. It's there for you, God. If you have a thing that you like or don't like, we got the videos for you. We can find it for you. I guarantee you.
yeah.
I bet he
What's
does.
your interest? You like
He
I bet he
llamas?
does.
We
watches
can
it.
find some llama things for you. Just
He
tell us what
does.
you want to see. I guarantee you we can make a market for it. Which is
But you know what?
Mhm.
You know the best poem book in the Bible is Song of Songs.
yeah. Some
Yeah.
weird
It's
description.
very
Her breasts were
explicit,
like mountains. Her breath was
and
like,
it's
what is
yeah.
that? So all cards on the table. Like I got an asexuality flag right there. I'm
Uh-huh.
proudly asexual. My thing was when I was in high school, I had no idea. I thought you're straight if you're a guy, and if you're a girl, you could be gay. That's an option for you, but you're also by default straight from birth. And really only girls really have the choice for the most part, because the box that I was built or indoctrinated into was
Mhm.
men do this, women do that, but they're not as important, so they can fray a little bit because their actions don't matter as much.
Mm.
Wow.
um in terms of sexuality specifically, and I guess
Mhm.
in many other things as well, it's like men have a dress code when they show up to work, women can wear dresses, they can do whatever they want, because you'll never see them management. That's bad. I think that's terrible.
Mhm.
But when I was in high school, I didn't know about asexuality, and I thought
Mm.
Mm.
these gender roles and sexual roles were just the crux of that was as true as this color of my skin, right?
Mhm.
And I go to college, didn't know about asexuality, but now I'm worried because in my head it's like I haven't had my sexual awakening yet. When am I going to start finding women
Mm.
really, really attractive? When is this going to
Mhm.
come in? Because
Mm.
I'm afraid, like, wait, am I gay? Because I don't think men are attractive either. What is going on here? And I'm being approached by women, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go out. Let's go on a date. nothing's happening. I don't understand this, and I'm not really feeling the attraction. I feel like I'm wasting your time. And meanwhile, they're like, Tyrone's so great. He's not pressurized. He's not pressuring me to do anything. He's so wonderful. He only wants to sit down and listen to me. He's the best. It's like, yeah. Let's just play games instead, because I don't want to do it. So in my head, it's like, what is going on? And so like I'm building a trail of like ex-girlfriends who love me. But I'm not understanding what I'm not getting out of it. And I also know like it's not like the person, it's just like I can't recognize sexual attraction. And I thought there was something wrong with me for a really long period of time. And I was repressing that for like maybe until my 30s, honestly. As an adult male, realizing like, even as an atheist, like, do I just hate women? Or is there something wrong with me? Like, what is going on? Because I can't make something connect. Like, I can love someone, but it never feels like it's sexual attraction. And I can't recognize it. And a lot of sexual things go over my head sometimes too. And so as a result, I was like, what's wrong? What can I do to fix it? I go online. Actually, this is a longer story, but I go online and I take a quiz, and the quiz is like, you are asexual. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought that was a joke, but it put me on a spectrum where I was just like, this is a word that we're using to define you, but it's not your destination. And I want you to use this word as a way to look up similar terms and get used to the idea that there's more to sexuality than just straight and gay or bi. In fact, there's a fourth quadrant there. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch more stuff. And it started this idea where it's like, when I was in school, which was very not necessarily Christian, but like it felt like reduced of options due to dogma and Christianity. I never knew that there were other options. And if I knew asexuality was a thing, which doesn't hurt anybody, I would have saved myself decades of stress and repression that I feel like gets people pushed further into Christianity because they're trying to solve a problem with their God. I didn't have a God belief then, so I tried to use science to figure it out. Turned out that was a pretty good way to figure it out. Why didn't I have that in school, right? And so, Esther, when you're talking about sexual roles that are like taught or indoctrinated or enculturated into kids, like these are the things that I wish kids would have the opportunity to understand, that like there are better options than the set cards that we're giving you. And I feel like that would give them time to understand at a more fundamental level, the deeper levels of empathy needed to understand that there are different people out there that are also valid, you know?
Right.
And that can reflect how they see women, treat women, see gay people, treat gay people, asexuals, bis, everything in between. And you want to end up with this very stodgy idea of like, I don't want to use these pronouns. I don't want to. It's like, why are you arguing? It doesn't bother you anyway. Like, don't you know Black people change what we call ourselves every 4 weeks just to keep you guys on your toes? Like, we can change words all the time. It's all good. So like, I don't know. I feel like, if we can get better at teaching this and letting people know that the information is available and we can understand and be just open about it. All the shame that comes, whether you're an atheist or asexual or anything else, goes away. It just becomes an aspect of how to describe yourself, not necessarily your identity. And I think that's the way I can get people away from like this tribalistic point of view and be like, oh, I know an atheist, it's Ty. And he's willing to dismiss it as soon as possible until I give him a good reason. It doesn't define him. It's just now when I hear someone try to badmouth a group and they're calling atheists, one, I know I don't like that because I know good atheists, and two, I'm not going to listen to whatever this guy's going to follow up with. And that's why God's true. It's like, maybe that guy is just trying to take 10% of my paycheck.
He needs your money. Oh, wow. This has been wonderful, and I know your time is precious. Phil, did you want to ask any question? Chat, did any of you have one or two more questions for Dr. Ty before we let him go? Because it's been we had another stream before this one, and now then this one. So yes,
it's okay. I got 2 vaccines. I'm not going.
Oh, how is your arm? How's your arm doing?
It's so good. I have no pain or anything like that.
Did you have both? Great. Did you have both in one arm?
This is my 6th COVID shot, and I just got a flu shot today too. Whoa. Yeah, because at our job we are, I forgot what they call them, whatever it is, where you have to be boosted on a very set regimen because we have the virus. We have the virus nearby where we work at.
I've only had 4.
We have it for testing. We use it for testing.
Oh, for testing. Okay. So you're the lab rats then.
Yeah, we're we're at best the
No,
wheel.
he's
The
working.
rats are on.
He's working in that environment.
Right.
Ooh,
Yeah.
who best to test the shots?
You
The
can thank the fact that
anti-vaxxers. Can you imagine putting Dr. Tai with the anti-vaxxers? Oh my goodness.
yeah, I want to
Oh
say
my
a
gosh.
little pat on our back. Our team worked really hard to help make
Well
the
done.
vaccine machines, the
Yes.
reproduction
Oh.
Oh,
machines,
nice.
and make them
Oh,
still available to everybody at basically free. So like,
okay.
good job anyone
Yes,
who's
well
watching this who
done.
works where we're at. But yeah.
Well
Yeah.
done. Oh
Yeah.
wow. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Phil, did you have any more questions? Or there was a question about how does keep looking for the root cause when there is so much to correct?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see that question. Just
How
have a
does
quick look.
keeping
There was a question about how to keep looking for the root cause.
Oh yeah, okay. It
when
was
there's
Paul
much-
Scatler. Hey, Paul Scatler says, how hard is it to keep the concentration to dig to the root when there are lots of claims that can be
Sure.
challenged along the way?
Because you don't want to waste time on something that won't change their confidence. The root is when they say, oh, if this was wrong, I will reduce my confidence. Now you're at the root. It's pretty simple. That's why I asked that question. If they say, hey, I believe this because I saw my dad rise from the grave. And I said, if you didn't have that experience, would you still believe in God? Yep, 100%. Still wouldn't change my mind. Doesn't matter. It's like, well, then I'm not going to talk about
that's
that.
not your root cause. Yeah.
Well, I believe it because evolution's wrong. And you believe in evolution? If we figured out your theory of evolution was correct, would that or incorrect, would that reduce your confidence, God? Nope. I'd still hate evolution and I'd still believe in my God. Then we're not going to talk about evolution today. Well, I think it's because of faith. I'm sorry. If you don't have faith, would you still believe in God? No, I would completely not believe in God because I wouldn't have faith. We're going to talk about faith. We're going to sit down and we'll talk about faith. What does faith mean to you? Now we're at the root. The questions change slightly at that point, but I'm not going to waste my time on 1,000 shields that a Christian is setting up to protect their chest piece, right? Because they can always get another shield from the rack. That's what they're trained to do. They're trained to defend things you care about. When you have a balloon on a string and someone's trying to like pick that balloon, they only grab the balloon more stronger, right? They only wrap around. It's like, hey, don't pop my balloon. I need this balloon to be a good person. I need this balloon to make money or to have my family respect me or to love myself. Like that's an important balloon to them. But what we're trying to get at is that string. And if they have 1,000 strings, only tackle the one that's connected to the balloon, because the ones that just dangle off their hands are distractions. And they may not know it's a distraction, but that's the only one. There's only one string that you care about. It's the one that's connected to the actual belief. That's the train of thought we're going to follow. And so when they come up with their reasoning behind it, pick that one and not any of the other ones. And I guarantee you can work together to figure out if that leads to where you guys think it does. And if not, that's a good thing to show them. It's like, hey, that's it.
That's fantastic.
So, Ben, you're saying that we started with we are atheists. Person said we are atheists because we want to sin. Flip that on its side, like, okay, will we be atheists if there was no sin? Yeah, it'll still be atheists.
Yeah, right.
Right, because that is not the root cause why we are atheists.
I would stop being atheist once I have a reasonable way to believe in God, or if God revealed in a way where it's like, oh, geez, that's something that I can't describe, or not necessarily like a hallucination, but like just a guy that's like, hey, by the way, I was Jesus the whole time. Going back to Jupiter, see you later. I'm like, oh, that was weird. I need something that I like if they're willing to sit down and have a conversation. But the problem is, the only weird thing about this is I have a thing where it's like, if you showed me a picture of a dog and you said you had a dog, I'd believe you have a dog, because that's a fairly mundane thing. And that's a mundane, I believe mundane claims require mundane evidence, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So if you showed me a picture of you and a tiger and you said, I have a pet tiger, I'd be like, huh, that's weird. That's not very common. But I know some people who do. Do you have more pictures? Does that kind of look photoshopped? Like, where are you at with this tiger? Is that just a filter on your phone? Like, I'm way more skeptical because that's a much more extraordinary claim. And if someone had a picture of them and a dragon on Jupiter and they said, well, here we have a time machine. It's this DeLorean. It like lifts up and my magic dragon goes in with me and we drive to Jupiter back and forth and have a picture to prove it. It's like, that's so extraordinary of a claim that a picture doesn't cut it anymore. And in my head, a god is far more extraordinary than a dragon or a time machine or a guy who is an astronaut who can go to Jupiter and back in the snap of the fingers. So would a book satisfy me that a god exists? Or would a picture satisfy me that a god exists? No. Would a conversation? No. We're talking about the most extraordinary form of evidence required to meet the extraordinary claim of what I think is the most extraordinary being that's being claimed to exist. So like when I seem like, Tyrone, even if God came down and talked to you, you'd be skeptical. It's like, yeah, I would be, because I need more than just a short chat with someone to believe that they're a god, because they could just as easily be a magician or a time traveler from the future using technology I haven't used before. Why do I immediately jump to God? We're going to have a lot of tests involved. It's going to be a world-changing affair. And the fact that someone can sit down and say, well, let me tell you why God exists. I'm like, I'm willing to hear you out, but are you hearing what you're saying? Because this is such an extraordinary thing that the fact that I don't believe it could be an indication that there's a problem here, or the fact that everyone doesn't believe the same thing you do and that there's these many different variations of Christianity in your holy book, that is in its own right a problem. I'm not going to point those out as like the skeptic atheist. What I'm going to just do is follow your train of logic, whatever you set it up at, that goes to your conclusion, and see if it meets the merit of the extraordinary claim that you're making. Sometimes it doesn't. And for the time, and I've yet to find a time where it does, but I'm open to it. But like, it's going to have to be a very powerful argument. But it's that open-mindedness that I want to reflect in my conversations. And I find like having that point of view is helpful when you're talking to people that look different from you, who don't necessarily look the same as you. And you're not teaching a person something, you're hearing them and understanding where they're coming from first before you come at them with your points of view. I find like that to be a very useful way to talk to someone.
Oh, is Dr. Ty familiar with the German guy that was vaccinated around 90 times? He was selling the vaccine cards. He was arrested, but I figured he'd probably been studied also.
No, I'm not.
Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know about that guy. Sorry. I'm sure there's a lot of German guys, though.
Right. So Paul says, great answer. Thank you. That was good. And if God was proven to be the name for the powers of the universe, would you believe?
So it's sort of like if someone gave me a salt shaker and told me this is God. This is God. I'm not adding any more bias to this other than just calling this God. I'd be like, is it necessary and sufficient to call that God? Because I can just easily call it a salt shaker. So if we have something called the powers of the universe that we're giving a label, why are we giving it the label? Because when I say God, a lot of people can hear that and mean a completely different thing. When I say powers of the universe, people will be like, oh, well, I know what you're talking about. Lightning, fire, whatever, the Green Lantern ring, whatever Marvel superpower we're talking about, the rings of power, whatever it is, so however we're defining it. Let's just make sure we're clear with our words, because if I say tree, you're thinking of a Christmas tree, I'm thinking of a sweet gum. Phil's probably thinking of I don't know, hardwood. What's your favorite tree, Phil? Like
pine tree.
A lovely fine tree. Yeah, like we can all be thinking about different things, even though we all assume we're talking about the same thing. There's nothing more dangerous. There's nothing more dangerous than that. In science, it's important to have work consistent and well understood variables. Otherwise, we're talking past each other.
Yeah, because that is supposed for repeatability, so that when you come to do the experiment that the person did, that you get similar, or you see if you get similar results.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
you know something that blew my mind, and I'm so glad I can talk to you guys about that. When I moved overseas for a period of time to do work, being black meant something different in Sweden than it did in the US. Because well, like when I was in the US, like black has its own weight, particularly if you're in the South, where it's like there's a camaraderie to an extent, but there's also like the danger aspect of knowing like maybe 1 out of 100 people have a problem with you. You don't know who, you're always feeling it out. It's a constant state of anticipation, but generally people are good, so good, but there's always that one who has a problem. And you're just like, because of that, I always have this guard up. But in Sweden, it's like when you're black over there, people think you're African or Egyptian, and you have people who you've never met before who you don't speak their language. They'll be like, bah, 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 bah. They're like, I don't speak that. It's like, oh, he's American. Oh, that's weird. And then they'll be like, whoa, that guy could look like me, but he's like, you're not like me. And I'm like, I've never had that experience before. This is different. I'm like, I don't know where the context is here. Like, what are the Like, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? It's like, I don't know. Like, I feel safe. It's just this weird redefining of all these weird anxieties that I've been carrying, that like I had to like let go and see if I could pick up any new ones. And I was just like, this is just so bizarre and different. And then coming back to the US, I'm like, why am I holding on to these things and letting it define me? Why am I letting other people's perceptions of how they see me define how I see myself? I'm going to stop that, love myself, take care of myself. That's when I started losing a lot of the weight, and just be honest with who I am, and find the people that care about me. I don't need an audience. I just need a community. And I found really good paths to getting that community to support me. And that's about it. Let's see. Yeah.
Someone has a good reason for becoming an atheist.
Without guilt. Very nice.
Dr. Ty, there are people in my chat that think very highly of me, even though I don't. But well, Dark Voices ASMR became an atheist because he wants to look at this face. But I think I'm going to well, okay, no, don't. I was going to say something, but no. I choose to not say it. Dr. Ty, this has been wonderful having you on this channel. We need to let you go so you can go rest your arm.
Okay.
And before you go, is there anything you've got coming up? Is there anything that you would want to announce to us where we can go check you out and subscribe, or go look at something?
So I would highly recommend that you go on the internet, if you're listening to this, and look up the names of any 3 Black female scientists. And I want you to do this for an important reason. One, you oftentimes don't know they exist unless if it's a Google celebration of somebody, right? But 2, I don't want everyone to have the same list of the same 3 Black female scientists. If you want to look at, say, like, why is he only saying the Black ones? Is it because he's Black? Yes, it's because I'm Black that I'm saying for Black. But if you want to look up Latina, if you want to look up Asian scientists as well, go on and do that. But I feel like the stigma is that there are no Black female scientists in academia or in engineering or in field. That is not true. They're there if you want to look for them. And I feel like that is the way how we can start our culture to be more inviting of the fact that there are Black female scientists. When we know their names, when we know what they've produced, when we know what their impact was in society, and we know their history. If you can at least spend like 10 minutes today getting that quickly, you can look up a quick Google list of them. You can find that out. You can arm yourself with that. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where it's like, I need to really convince this person that they have a place in science as well, even though they don't see as many faces, you can be like, what about this person? What about that person? What about this person? It's like, is this person just naming these heads? I was like, yeah, because I spent the time to look it up, and there's hundreds more. I really want you to realize that science is not discriminatory regardless of what your faith or creed is. If you are a Christian, there's still a place for you, even in science. You can be the most Christian person. If you use the scientific method well, there's a place for you there too. It's the most open system to improve well-being of humanity and reduce needless harm. I feel like just like how you could with morality, you can do the same thing with science. Empower yourself with names, empower yourself with faces. Do that, and I think you do a great thing.
Apparently the first Black female scientist, she had her Ph.D. in chemistry, biochemistry.
Nice. Very, very cool. So like in the back of my head, I have like my colleagues, but I also have like the first Black guys to graduate from the school that I was going to. Did you know it was illegal for my mom to get the PhD at the school that I eventually, it was illegal for her to go to the school that I went to get my PhD in when she was, because they didn't let Black people into Georgia Tech until 1940s. And so the first guy to get his degree was in the 1960s. And when I went there to get my PhD, it was almost practically the same board that was there even back then. It was insane.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. So like 2 generations behind by the time you get ready to graduate. But like when my mom was born, it was illegal for her to go to the school that I eventually got my PhD in. We make these levels of changes. We make these changes slowly, but we make them through effort. and we make them through
Yeah.
understanding names and
Mhm.
knowing who those people are. That's why I encourage everyone to understand who these people are. 3 Black
Mhm.
scientists. I highly recommend that you look them up. That's all we need to do. Arm ourselves to start curbing the culture of it only looks like this when I say scientists. These are the great philosophers. These are the great minds. It's not just white men. There are other faces there too. 3 Black scientists, the female. Highly
Yeah.
recommend it. Yeah.
I love the fact that I asked you the question about yourself, to tell us about what you've got coming up next and what we can look up to, and you've taken us to something really very important, and you didn't make it about yourself. You're putting the highlight back onto Black women, Black women scientists, and I feel like this is a subsection of people that are completely ignored, that are completely just they're non-existent. They're there, but spotlight is not put on them only when they're given awards or when they're talked about for. And then the other thing is, we had a look at your profile, right, Phil, and we noticed that you have quite a lot of articles and
Oh,
quite
Yeah.
a lot of research papers. It's so
Research.
interesting, right? And so I will put the link to this in the description. But Dr. Tai, thank you very much.
Had a
Thank
wonderful
This
time.
you,
has been
Dr.
great.
Tai.
You
Thank
guys could call
you.
me Ty. I told them to call me Ty at the beginning.
Yeah,
So
Just
it's
Tai.
that
Yeah, Tai.
it sounds so much better in the mouth, Dr. Tai, and just Tai.
Sure.
Oh
Right.
my gosh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tai. Me and Phil will still carry on here, right?
Sure.
With
You
the
can invite
people
me
and
back. You
yes.
can invite me
Oh,
back.
did you say we can invite you back?
Getting back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr.
Oh,
Tai,
yeah.
you can come back every week if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open invite to come back
Oh,
every
yeah.
week.
Interesting. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you, and please do look after yourself.
And
Ruth
before you go,
Ellamore, by the way. Yeah.
Dr.
Great
Tai,
PhD guy.
So before you go,
there's a Black woman from Barbados who has a doctorate in chemistry in the aspect of, she works with Johnson Johnson in Belgium.
Oh.
Yeah, working on delivery methods for medication.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
cool indeed.
That's a really interesting science too. Incipient.
Yeah.
Right, Dr. Tai, thank you very much.
Okay.
And yeah, go rest your arm, and we'll see you again real soon. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What's that noise?
I
This
think
has
you
been
were
good.
accidentally blown.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of really
yeah.
good list of names in the chat too. Ox is posting a bunch of them.
Yes, quite a few. Okay, let's see. Dr. Patricia Bath, Blessy Blount,
Shirley
Marie,
Jackson.
and
Shirley
Britton
Jackson.
I
Brown.
know Ruth Ellamore. She's like one of my 6
Colleague?
names. Ruth Ellamore. She's a microbiologist. There's
Oh.
also Ada Lovelace. Is this mentioned as well?
Oh, yeah.
Ada
Ada.
Lovelace.
Yeah.
I've
She's been
heard of
programmed.
I
Ada.
heard of Ada Lovelace. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Nice. Highly recommended.
Dr. Tai, it is for me. You earned it. Yes, absolutely. And we appreciate all your endeavors, and we are so proud of you, Dr.
Thank you
Tai.
so
So
much.
proud. I was reading your achievements, and let me tell you, I was taken aback. Most of the MCR, CRM thing. I'm thinking, okay.
and MR, not nuclear magnetic
Clue
resonance.
what they were.
Was it my resume that you were seeing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it like an old resume?
Hang on, let's see. Let's find it. Right, Doctor.
Hey, you're still live. You're still live. I don't know if you're still
Yeah,
live.
right. Yeah, we're still live.
Do you want to? You don't mind
I'm fine.
it
It's
being
on the
shown
internet.
live?
Go ahead.
Okay,
No.
it is on the
I got
internet,
nothing.
Is
right.
there
Okay.
any description?
Oh yeah, it's in the description of this show actually.
HPLC.
Yeah.
HPLC, yep,
Uh,
high pressure liquid chromatography. Yep.
Oh yes, chromatography, right?
Yep.
And the FTIR does something infrared.
Yeah. HPLC is for like if I got different kinds of sugars, right? And I need to
Right.
figure out what the proportions are. That's a great test to use because
Okay.
sugars have the same molecular weight. They have almost nearly the same charge. So it's like, how do I separate these two? You're going to need a
Right.
lot of pressure and a really long chromatography tube to really distinguish the
Okay.
difference. And that's what you use
Nice.
HPLC for. FTIR is like, I just want to know. I can't tell you what this whole piano thing is, but if I put it on the FTIR, it will be like 30 keys. Okay. There's a
Mhm.
tube. There's white keys and black keys. I'm like, oh, I can put those pieces together and tell you probably have one of these guys. Like,
These
that's
guys,
the FTIR.
yeah, yeah,
I'll break it up to pieces and I'll tell you what the pieces are. And I'm like, and then it's up to
yeah,
them to put it together. And you're like,
yeah.
okay, I
You
can do that.
actually did that in organic chemistry at
Yeah.
university, and I
Yeah.
was very good at it.
And now they do it with their phones. Now kids don't have to think at all. They have a machine that just goes like, boop. Hey, it's nylon. Oh, awesome. That's
Yeah.
nylon. What's this? Polystyrene. I'm like, wow, is it so easy?
And,
We used to
but-
spend hours.
Hours, yeah.
Yeah.
I just love working out those things. Those puzzles.
Right. It used to be
I
hours. It's
enjoy
like,
it.
this is so
Lovely.
complicated. They'll never figure it out. And it's like, boop. It's so easy to do science now. I'll tell you another cool thing. Let me see. Are we still live? Okay.
yes, we are.
Yeah.
Then I can't talk about it in much
Okay.
detail.
Oh, never mind.
Oh.
Never mind, guys.
Yeah,
Anyway,
talk about-
guys, thank you all very much. And me and Phil, we might just come back, right? Just
Yeah.
for just a general chat.
General,
Nothing
yeah.
fancy. Right. But we need to let Dr. Ty go. And
Yep.
right, everyone, thank you very listen, guys.
Thanks.
Please do not
everyone.
forget to thumbs up the stream. This has been amazing
Oh, yeah.
conversation. And my links are there if you want to make a contribution to the channel, right? So make
Mhm.
sure to you can click on the link, make a donation to the channel. It goes a long way to making all this. Guys, look what I've done. I mean,
Yeah.
check this
Oh
out.
yeah. Oh
Look
yeah.
what I've done. Come on. Just
Oh yeah.
to make
Done,
these
yeah.
streams look
All
all
S.
nice
Let's
and
do that.
That's pretty
fantastic.
lit. It's pretty lit.
Have
I like it.
Oh
a
yeah.
nice production. So
Yeah, it's pretty good.
everyone, thank you very much, and we'll see you again. We might come back later on, Phil.
You
Yes,
do great on
Yes.
Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
fantastic. Okay, all right, everyone. Good night, and thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Here we
Woo.
go.
Do you have a moment? And this very second, I know you feel the beat. Do you feel the rhythm all the way? Can you see the vision? Everything in this world will be okay.